Since the release of Rebuild 3.0 plus 1, I've been itching to talk about the Evangelion franchise, but I wasn't sure how to do that in an original way. Evangelion has kind of been talked about to death. And rebirth. And death again. Should I do like a traditional review? Maybe I could break down a scene that I just happen to really like. I feel like both of these approaches have been done before, and by better channels. What about just talking into a camera, unedited, for as long as it takes to get my thoughts out? Rocco from Mega 64 of all people did that the night 4.0 came out, and frankly, I feel like every Evangelion fan has been where Rocco was in this video at some point in their journey with the franchise.
How the hell did I get here? Oh God! Oh!
Evangelion is just one of those shows that you finish and then have to process by talking about it. That being said, none of these video options felt right. So I scrapped all of my ideas and moved on. Except I didn't. Instead, I pitched dumb idea after dumb idea after dumb idea to my friends, until I finally landed on one that actually got a laugh. What if I talked about Evangelion at my least composed? At my most brain dead? After running away from the subject for months? This was the plan. Run a half marathon, because I was already going to do that anyway, and then answer questions about the least straightforward media franchise ever, right after finishing. The premise of this video makes about as much sense as anything in Evangelion, so that's what I did. I recruited my friend and fellow Evangelion fan Mallory to write questions for me to answer blindly, and had my trusty camera operator Steven read them to me at the finish line. This video was the result. Please enjoy.
First do a rehearsal because I gotta go on a sharp turn.
No, it's fine. We're running, this is my Mr. Beast impression. We're running a half marathon at this undisclosed location. And if we do it, if we be me, if I do it, I get no money. But if this video gets 1 million views and likes and comments, I also get no money. That's my intro. That's all I got.
Nice.
Do I regret this decision? Not yet, but we'll see how I feel in a few hours. I run sometimes. I run a little bit. This is my second half marathon ever. And been a couple of years, and it's 20 pounds lighter then, so we'll see how this goes. The goal is to beat my old time of 2 hours and 27 minutes. And again, it's a half marathon, so that's 13.1 miles, and I'm gonna die. So basically, as soon as I get off the finish line, Steven behind the camera is gonna pull me aside and ask me a bunch of dumb questions about a show I haven't seen in 15 years. So, woo, that's the plan.
Programmers, the Black Eye, 70 Neon Genesis Evangelion. Today is the day, so have a great race.
30 seconds. You're going to get your 15-second countdown. We're going to go on the count of 50, 40, 13, 12,
Because yeah, once we get the camera like set where we need it to be, we're good to go, and we just can leave it alone. But just make sure it's good, please. I like chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk sandwich.
I do. I'm not littering. I'm picking that up later. It's frozen.
This man
I'm suffering.
is
I'm
very disappointed right now.
suffering with success. All right. I think the mic's as good as it's gonna get. I need to not peak so bad. There is definitely copyright music playing in the background, but we'll give it a shot. It's the best I can do. All right. What do you got for me?
Who are Adam and Lilith?
Adam is the alien that crashed in the Antarctic. He, I think, was with the Black Egg, and he's basically like the first angel. There's a truck going by. I'm sure it sounds lovely. Lilith is the precursor to humans. I want to say Adam represents evolution and Lilith represents knowledge, but I'm not quite sure. Lilith crashed at Central Dogma where Nerve is.
Why didn't Shinji want to get in the robot?
Well, Shinji can't run away, and I can't run. So, yeah. No, that's a terrible joke. Shinji does not want to get in the robot. It's kind of subjective, I think, but because he is scared of getting hurt, that's the basic human thing, but also he feels underappreciated or undervalued by everyone around him. And because of that, like, everyone uses Shinji throughout the entire series, which in turn leaves him having like a horrible sense of self-worth. And sometimes he has self-worth because of piloting the Ava, but normally that's Asuka, who is entirely like crushed when she can't do it. That's a rambling long answer to say that it hurts. It hurts deep.
What does LCL taste like?
Well, Shinji smells like it. That's about all I remember.
One of my favorite smells in the world.
It's also like human juice, so kind of gross.
What are the Dead Sea Scrolls?
The Dead Sea Scrolls are one of several elements in Evangelion that's taken from the real world. But in Evangelion, they're like some ancient scrolls that were found somewhere near the Dead Sea. That's all I got. But in Evangelion, they predict and give information about the coming angels. It's how Nerve kind of knows when angels are going to show up, but I also can't remember if that's true or not, or if that's just like what they tell Nerve staff, and if it's like a Sele thing and they know when the angels are going to come the whole time. I really don't remember. But that's my best guess. They also... See, I think I'm getting them confused with the, like, there's a term for it, but the whole, like, picking the children thing with, like, the first child and the second child and all that. But yeah, they tell when the angels are coming, and they also, I think, give some hints towards how to trigger human instrumentality. But that's all I got.
Explain the Christian imagery in the series.
Anno thought it looked cool. Hideki Anno, that's his name, right? Yeah. Hideki Anno took not just Christian imagery, but also several other religions' imagery, and just kind of likes just throwing it in there. Angels, there's a plane going over. It's great. So that plane represents the Jesus, and the Lance of Longinus is gonna what was the question?
Explain the Christian imagery in the series.
Explain the Christian imagery in the series. Crosses look cool. That's about it. That's basically where it begins and ends. There's also, sometimes it's mixed in with the technobabble. Like, I want to say the Doors of Guff, which is like the thing that opens up and raise hands and has a bunch of souls in it. I want to say that's from like Hindu religion, but I really don't remember. That's my best guess. It's just, hey, Anno likes it, it's cool looking. He also likes making references to like Super Sentai, so it's just what it is.
What was Gendo's goal?
What was Gendo's goal?
Yeah.
Gendo's goal was to be reunited with Yui, and he planned to do that through getting on a bus. He planned to do that through human instrumentality. Everyone's goal basically is human instrumentality, but Gendo wanted to be in control of human instrumentality using Rei, who was subservient to him until End of Eva the whole time, basically. She goes against him at the very end, but until that point, his plan was use Rei, reunite Rei with Lilith. That causes some shenanigans, and then through those shenanigans, he would be reunited with Yui. I think the problem with his plan, if I remember correctly, is that Yui is like the only being to not end up in instrumentality at any point in End of Eva. Like, I think she ends up in Unit 1, and I believe Unit 1 literally floats off into space to be like a eternal record of humanity existing. And I think her soul is still there. If you didn't know, these robots have souls in them. It's kind of crazy. It's a little bit of a big deal. But yeah, so that's what I think Gendo's plan is. I wish my chocolate milk was not frozen.
Pretty tragic. How come when Rei takes Gendo's glasses as her memento of him, he isn't like, hey, give me my glasses back. I need those to see. Like, did he just assume they were lost, or did he agree to hand them over and get new ones?
The chocolate milk is still frozen. That's a dumb question. His glasses were broken when Unit 2 or Unit 0 freaked out in testing before the series happened and like broke the glass, and he burned his hands, and I think he broke his glasses when saving Rei. It's not saving, manipulating her, but when opening the pod and he burned his hands and that whole thing. I want to say his glasses broke then, or at least that's where she picked them up. But I assume he's a rich man. I assume he has more than one pair of glasses. He has a razor he never uses, so.
シックエヴァンゲリオンキャンペーン
きたー西部インパクト
Ah, my leg. Okay.
Talk about the ethics of consuming a product that has 14-year-olds in skin-tight suits and sexualized camera angles. FBI, open up!
I refuse. No. It's fucked up. It ain't good. It's just kind of one of those things you have to accept when watching anime, and that shouldn't be the case. And it's really creepy, especially there's some awful merch, like even beyond the series. Yeah, it ain't good. But also, it would be better if it was actually made for like 14-year-olds. But it's not, or at least it only kind of is. I mean, I watched it when I was like 15, so I was like pretty close to Rei, Shinji, Asuka's age, but it was still, yeah, it's steezy and bad, but that's kind of a lot of anime, so that's just how it is.
All right then, more fan service coming soon.
I wish my chocolate milk was unfrozen. That's what I'm just gonna say that for every question. You can track how long this takes by how solidified the chocolate milk is.
Who the fuck is Mari?
I know this one. Mari is, she's a friend of Gendo and Yui, and she's actually like much older than most of the younger cast, which is a dumb statement. She's much older than the other pilots, even before Rebuild 3, where they're all much older, and there's like a time skip. She was around when Gendo and Yui were in college, and I guess that implies that she's like a prototype pilot, and she has like the curse of Lilin or Ava or whatever it's called that makes you not age. She was actually first shown in the manga for Evangelion, which ended somewhere between 2.0 and 3.0 coming out, I think. And you see like a picture of her, and you can kind of tell it's her because of her glasses, and it's kind of weird. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know why they chose to add her, but that's who she is. And also at the end, people have gone back and forth on this. But it seems like she represents, in 4.0 at least, Gendo, Anno's, everyone's just Anno. Ano's wife, who I believe is a mangaka. That's all I got. It's getting there.
Why did Shinji's mom die?
Yui didn't die necessarily. Her body died during a testing of the Ava Unit 1's core, and that might have something to do with the fact that I think Ava Unit 1 was built using parts of Lilith, whereas the other units were built using parts of Adam, and so that might have something to do with it, but I think that Yui always intended to be kind of like sucked into the Ava's core against Gendo's wishes, because again, she wanted to be like this last example of humanity, assuming that humans lost against the angels, or that they just eventually died. So it might have been her plan all along. Her soul is still in Unit 1. When Unit 1 goes berserk, that's probably her. Shinji doesn't really realize that until I think End of Ava, or pretty close to that. But she does the whole thing where she busts out of like the gel that the JSF put around Unit 1. So yeah, she's there. Her soul's there. Her body's gone. Gendo's not happy. Crosses don't mean anything in Evangelion. It's so much pain. My legs. I gotta extend my leg. Oh man, I bet that looks great.
Your legs aren't on the ground.
Well, that's good, because they're on the floor. Okay.
What's the deal with Pen Pen?
What is the deal with Pen Pen? Pen Pen is Misato's pet. He or she, I don't know if they ever specify. I want to say he's like an endangered species, because after Second Impact, like most of the 80% of the humans die. I think a lot of animals die, and animal species, presumably. Maybe Misato got him on the expedition that her dad died in, but it's not clear. He's mostly there to be kind of like a misdirection, because a lot of things in the early episodes of Evangelion are meant to like lull you into suspecting that it's just a normal kind of anime show, and a lot of anime shows in the 90s and beyond had animal mascots. So that's kind of what Pen Pen is. I do like that he seems to have like a whole Pen Pen colony in 4.0. That was really cute. So that's what I got.
Why do you like Rei?
Okay, so I know the whole Rei Asuka thing is like a big deal to people. And a lot of my friends make fun of me because I like Rei more than Asuka, even though Rei's like, there's a lot of problematic things with Rei. Like Rei's this weird, like, sex doll of a character. I don't know how to say it nicer than that. But I always liked her story. Seemed to be centered around finding her humanity and I'm not gonna be able to explain this well. I've had this feelings for a long time, and it's really hard to put into words. But Rei, essentially, I don't know. Her story of learning to be her own person and learning to be like learning how to feel and how to have emotions. It's not. There's problems with it, but it's also. It just really resonated me with for some reason. Like I really like the moments in episode 6 where she kind of builds her own agency. All the things I like about Rei are the reasons that weirdos don't like Rei, or that weirdos who like Rei hate these parts about her. But I like her slowly developing agency over time, and I think that really comes to a head in End of Ava. She doesn't really do much in the rebuilds past Rebuild 2, which is kind of a disappointment. But that's why I've always liked her relationship with Shinji, even though she's his mother, and that's kind of weird. I just you got to pick and choose your battles with Evangelion, so that's kind of where I come down on it. That's what I got. I'm switching to water.
Fuck, that's like disappointment.
A significant disappointment. Okay, this is very hard to not knock over my mic. Okay. Let's keep going.
What was Kaji's goal?
Ah, damn it. Okay, so I remember they gave Kaji more of a backstory in the manga, which is a weird companion piece to the show, and it's kind of similar, but has a few expanded characters like Kuru and Kaji. Kaji, I want to say in the manga, they go through like he had a friend who died and he was displaced when Second Impact happened. And I think he like had this mentality of wanting to survive and wanting to kind of get revenge on the powers that be for potentially causing Second Impact. Like I want to say it started with his goal of just wanting to find out, hey, why'd the world get destroyed? But then it evolved as he got deeper and deeper and became like a double, triple, quadruple agent. I think it got more complicated. I think he became more concerned for like people like Masato and Shinji to a certain extent and Asuka. But I want to say his goal was always just to learn the truth of what's happening, and he got pretty close. I mean, he found the embryo of Adam, and he gave Masato information on human instrumentality, which she uses in End of Eva. So I think he achieved his goal, but he also got shot in like a vent, so who knows? Or did he? But yeah, he did. So that's what I got. And he apparently saved the world in Rebuilds, so he got a little bit of a glow up. He also wanted to plant watermelons. I would be crucified if I don't mention that. So that's Kaji.
Man, was that job ever a pain in the ass.
These questions are easy, by the way.
What is Kuru and why does he do anything?
These questions are not easy. Kuru is the 13th angel. He's an angel that Seele has some sort of influence over. He's not the 13th. He's like there's like 17 angels. I don't remember. It's hard to remember between this and Rebuild. He's an angel. He's the soul of Adam, I think. But he's also on the moon, and I don't really know why. Yeah, Karu's a little bit of a mystery. Something cool about Kuru is that even though I can't say his name, is that he is one of the only characters in the Rebuilds who seems to know that he's going through a reboot, and that's really cool. He also loves Shinji, and that's cool. But beyond that, I don't really remember. I think he's Adam's soul and Ray's like Lilith's soul, but I don't really remember. So that's what I got. Because yeah, I think I think that's right, because Gendo fuses Ray with the embryo of Adam, and then Ray goes into Lilith, and so it's Lilith and Adam combined, and that's why Ray turns into both herself and Kuru when they're freaking out Shinji. Yeah, that's what I got.
Why is Shinji on a little planet when everyone says congratulations to him?
I don't think anyone knows that answer. The theory, there's a plane going by, the theory that I've always liked is that episodes 25 and 6 are if Shinji accepts instrumentality, and End of Eva is Shinji rejecting instrumentality, and they're just two sides of the same coin, and they're just two different alternative endings to the main series, with Rebuild being like a third, or Rebuild maybe being a continuation of End of Eva. It's not really clear. So yeah, I think that weird everyone clapping on a planet and saying congratulations, I want to say that's just Shinji accepting himself through instrumentality, as opposed to coming to the conclusion he comes to at the end of Eva, which is, I've always thought it was kind of positive, even though people think it's kind of a very dark and negative ending, and it's not really clear based on the final shot what happens in End of Eva. But I've always assumed that, or I've always taken kind of the message at face value that End of Eva is Shinji rejecting instrumentality and choosing to build relationships with others like the normal human way, even if it's painful, even if it creates barriers. There's a bee flying by, that's creepy. Even if it even if it hurts, basically. And so globe ending is kind of, in my mind, bad ending. I'm not really pro instrumentality. I think I can make that statement known. So there you go. Anybody walking by is gonna be so confused. Anyway.
Explain Asuka's backstory.
Asuka was a pilot, or was a child who trained to be a pilot. Her mother at some point lost her, I want to say they say like maternal instincts are like what makes her a mother. Like that's the part of Asuka's mother that ends up in Unit 2. And that results in her mother killing herself and I think trying to kill Asuka, if I remember correctly. And also I think they show like a kid Asuka in Rebuild 4, but I don't really remember. In the main series, it's like, yeah, she's a pilot, she's an ace pilot. I think they give her like some kind of military rank that's ridiculously high. And her mother tried to kill herself. Her mother killed herself or tried to kill herself, and she's meant to be the pilot of Unit 2, and she doesn't know that her mother did that, but she figures it out. She finds that connection at the very end of at the middle of End of Eva, at the end of her life, and that's Asuka. And then she's an angel in the rebuilds because she takes Toji's place and gets angel virus, and that's cool. Makes for a really cool scene. I'm so cold now. Let's keep it going.
What is human instrumentality?
Human instrumentality is the concept of every human who came from Lilith breaking down their barriers and essentially all becoming LCL or Tang. And by doing so, there's no pain or hurt or sorrow because it's all kind of one collective nothingness, but also like a coming together. It's really kind of up for debate and not very clear, but that's, it's just like everyone becomes one hive mind, and depending on which version of Eva you're watching, someone's in control of that hive mind when they really shouldn't be, but it's kind of like just who ends up in control of it. Like, is it Rei, or is it Shinji, or is it Gendo, and that's how it goes. But yeah, everyone becomes Tang.
When Gemini 4 first launched men into space, Tang instant breakfast drink went with them. Since then, people everywhere have launched the day with Tang, because nothing fuels up your family like a nutritious breakfast in Tang. Tang has a fresh orange taste, a full day's supply of vitamin C in every glass.
What life lessons are we supposed to take away from the series?
That kind of depends on the version. I've always thought that episodes 25 and 26 are pretty dark, and I don't think that anyone really comes to I don't think any of the characters in the main series end up in a good place, if that makes sense. Like, I think that they end up accepting instrumentality, whether forcibly or not, which in turn means they're like, in a way, they're running away from their problems, much like I ran for 13 miles.
13.1?
13.1, excuse me. Gotta save that .1. End of Eva, I've always thought of as kind of a positive ending, which I think is insane. I think that's really not how it's considered. But in that one, I think at least for Shinji, he accepts himself, and he's willing to love again, which, as kind of generic as that sounds, I mean, if you've seen End of Eva, if you're watching this video, you probably know it takes a long time to get there and goes through a lot of crazy shenanigans and imagery and all that. I just keep using the word shenanigans because it's all I can think of for Eva. But, so End of Eva, I've always thought it was kind of positive, at least in terms of Shinji. But also he tries to kill Asuka at the end, so it's not really clear. But the rebuilds has a lot more to do, and I've only seen 4.0 once, but it has a lot more to do with forgiveness and with growing up and with reaching adulthood and maturing kind of past your trauma. And so you see that with Shinji and with Gendo, and you see that with all the characters as older characters at the end, which I think is really, really beautiful. 4.0 really kind of brought it back for me at the very end. And of course, all of it's autobiographical. So it's Anno working through trauma, I believe he lost his mother when he was making the series, and then he went through a lot of very negative experiences making Eva and seeing the reception to it. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that it's also a critique of otaku culture. That's kind of like a general thought, although I think people kind of overblow that aspect of it. But there's a couple of different things that they make fun of, or they twist your expectations if you're expecting like a generic like wish fulfillment kind of fantasy series. Eva does none of those things. It's the farthest thing from wish fulfillment I think I could ever imagine in terms of a series. Very rarely does doing the badass like shonen hero thing work out for characters, and usually it's a lot of trauma and pain and learning from that. So that's a long rambling way to say that it's about getting over your trauma or learning to live with it and forgiving people and learning to accept people in your heart even if it's painful and it's scary and all those things. Yeah, Eva.
Yeah. Why do you like Eva when it sucks so bad?
I think I love Eva. I consider it my favorite series in a lot of ways, but it does kind of suck at times. Some of the things we've talked about, some of the frustrating aspects, like it going into just technobabble nonsense, especially in Rebuilds 3 and 4, are really frustrating and annoying. But it always has made interesting and unexpected choices, all the way up until 4.0 a few months ago. So Eva to me is just, it's unpredictable. It's really, like, I think the core takeaways from it that we've kind of gone through about forgiveness and about self-love, even though they're buried under a lot of, really honestly, they're buried under a lot of really cool sci-fi. Like, I can't sit here and lie and say that the Evangelions themselves aren't like really cool, and that Evangelion doesn't have some of my like favorite action scenes and some of my favorite like staging and animation throughout the years and music. But on top of all of that, I think it's trying to say a lot more than almost any show I've ever watched. So in that sense, I don't think Eva sucks. I think Eva is really important. But I would never say if someone watched it and hated it, I wouldn't go, well, you just don't get it. I mean, Eva's not for everybody, but for me, it's just, it runs through my mind at least once a week. So I'm about to die. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, running 13.1 miles and talking about Eva. This is really dumb. I am very cold. There's a dog barking in the background, but I'm very, very cold. And I kind of want to die. And that seems to be very Eva appropriate. So I hope I made a video that no one's ever made about Evangelion.
Nice hot beer waiting for you at home.
Yeah, really. You can track how long the video took because the milk is still frozen. Oh man. I can't feel my legs like at all.